Welcome back to the Anfield Talk YouTube channel, guys. And today I am joined by 4 times Division 1 winner, 2 times European Cup winner, and 4 times League Cup winner, Sammy Lee. How are you doing, mate?
Morning, Ben. All good, thank you. And you?
Yeah, I'm very good, mate. Thank you. And once again, thank you for jumping on the channel, mate. Really appreciate it. I'm really looking forward to speaking to you and hearing about your time at the club
Pleasure,
and
mate.
getting your thoughts on the Liverpool current team as well, actually. So, yeah, let's get straight into it, mate. Let's cast your mind back to the start because I think that's always a good place to begin, isn't it? Um, Correct me if I'm wrong because I got all of this stuff from the internet and it's not always the best of sources, but I believe from what I read, it was
No,
1976 you signed your professional contract.
I signed my professional contract yet, but I joined the club in '74 as an
Mm-hmm.
apprentice because back in the day there was apprenticeship scheme. So it was in that great year of 1974 when they just beaten Newcastle 3-0 in the FA Cup, and I joined the club then. Yeah.
Perfect. And just tell us a bit about how that came about, because obviously now, we see Liverpool are doing it now. Actually, big clubs go to the lesser sides and sort of poach their youngsters for, it can be anything up to £1 million, really. We did it with Harvey Elliott and a couple of other players. So for you, how did that come around? You joined the academy and then obviously you signed that professional contract. How did that come around? And was it, sort of, it was Bob Paisley at the time. Was it him pushing for that to happen, or was it somebody else?
But what happened, to be honest, with you, back in them days, there was no academies. It was an apprenticeship scheme. And as I say, I joined in 1974 as an apprentice. And what you do, you have to work through your apprenticeship then to hopefully earn a pro contract. And as you say, it wasn't a case of we certainly weren't offered £1 million back in them days. All it was is that really they give you the opportunity to go and be at the best club in the world with the best players in the world and to try and be the best you can be. And in that 2 year period of apprenticeship, if they deem that you're good enough, then they'll offer you a pro contract, which thankfully they did. As you say, it was Bob Paisley who was my manager at the time, but alongside him, he had some fantastic people. As I say, people like Joe Fagan, Ronnie Moran, Roy Evans, and Tom Saunders and John Bennison. Now, Tom Saunders was very, very influential in getting me at the club. Tom was the scouting guru, if you like. He had a knowledge unmatched by anybody, any computer in the world now. He had more than that knowledge. He didn't need an algorithm. He had everything whether it be in his head or whether it be in notes. And he was very influential in getting me to join Liverpool Football Club.
Exactly. And when that happened, obviously, we've heard Bob Paisley is the manager, and as Liverpool fans of this generation, we only hear the stories of, the people like yourself talk about him. And, our parents and grandparents obviously grew up in that era. But for you, what was Bob Paisley like as a person? Just getting it from somebody that obviously knew him very well. This is the first ever time, really, I've spoken to somebody who was that close to him. So, sort of, just summarize him in a few words, what he was like as a person, as a manager, and what he was like for you as a youngster.
Well, I'll give you it in 2 words. He was the best, and he was different.
Mm.
And I'll try and explain that. Obviously, he took over from the great man, the great Bill Shankly, who started everything what we have today. Everything. He had the
Yeah.
building blocks. He was the architect of it all. But unfortunately, Bill resigned, or Sir Bill Shankly resigned in '74, and Bob Paisley took over. So when I say he's the top, because you have a look at his record, he's one of the most successful managers ever
Mm.
in the world. And he was different in as much as he was totally different to Bill Shankly. Bill was very eloquent, very outgoing, very effervescent, whereas Bob wasn't. And that was the secret that Liverpool had, is that Bill Shankly formed a backroom team, the boot room as it's known,
Mm.
of all different characters, all different components to make up the best people he could have had working alongside him. So although he was totally different to Bill, he still had a knowledge unmatched by anybody in the world, in my opinion. And I'm going to say he was different. As I say, people always imitate him, they impersonate him, they always try to give the Northeast voice, which I won't attempt. But believe you me, he was very different in how he got his message across to us. But when he did get his message across to us, it was very, very clear. Certainly to me, because as I said to you, although he was totally different to Bill Shankly, I certainly learned an awful lot from him, and I certainly understood my role and my responsibilities every time I went onto that football pitch. So it's strange, I'll repeat, although he wasn't the most eloquent, although he wasn't the most easy person to understand, I certainly did. And it certainly helped me in my career. He made everything so simple. And football is a very, very simple game, complicated by coaches like myself now.
No, exactly. And when you joined that first team, it had the likes of Ray Clements and Phil Thompson, Ray Kennedy, Kevin Keegan, I believe. I think Kenny joined, was it the season after that you joined?
77, I think he joined.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
what was it like
And then
as a young
Graham,
lad?
then,
Go on, sorry.
oh, it was terrific. It was terrific, Ben, to go into that dressing room. Don't forget, as I say, in 1974, I'll give you the 1974 Cup final team if you like. Just offhand, it was Ray Clements, the back four, Tommy Schmidt, Phil Thompson, Emily News, and Art Lindsay. In midfield of Peter Cormack, Ian Callahan, Brian Hall, and Stevie Array, and of course Kevin Keegan and Toshak up front. And to go into that environment as a young boy was magical for me. It was something that I always wanted to do. And we were in different dressing rooms. You had the home team dressing room where all the first team players were, and you had the reserve team dressing room, the away team dressing room where all the reserves and all the apprentices and young pros were. So our aim at that time was to get from that away team dressing room into the first team dressing room where all the stars were.
If you had to pick a couple of names from the top of your head, the ones that sort of maybe guided you into being the player that you became, who would those sort of figures have been in that squad?
To be perfectly honest with you, my hero of all time is Ian Callahan. For me, my hero of all time. And then later on, I was lucky to play with Graham Souness, who for me is the best player I have ever played with. He really is. And again, he took over the mantle. To be honest, Cali obviously, still went through with it. He was still there. But and so I had two of the best people ever in football that I could ever wish to meet. And as I say, I'm very fortunate. I'm seeing Cali this afternoon. We've got a little bit of a gathering this afternoon. It'd be great just to join up with him again. But as I say, I was fortunate. Them two guys, it meant everything to me. Them two guys formed everything what I am today, good and bad. So I have to say, I was very, very fortunate. Them two guys did everything for me.
Absolutely. And we move on, like we alluded to just a moment ago. A certain Scottish forward joined the club for around £500,000, which I guess would have been a big fee back then in those days. And his name's obviously Sir Kenny Dalglish.
I think I know what you mean.
Yeah, exactly. And I just want to know what the sort of feeling was like when he comes in the doors, mate, because obviously there's already an amazing squad that we've just spoken about, the names that were there. So when Kenny comes in, mate, what was the atmosphere and the mood like in the Liverpool dressing room?
Well, as I say, Ben, to be honest with you, Liverpool had this fantastic ability to recruit well and to regenerate the team. And Kevin obviously left, to go to pastures new, and obviously everybody was a little bit down. But then they have this ability to bring people in to replace them, i.e., as you say, Kenny, and obviously Graham Souness. And as I said to you before, it's strange because I mentioned the fact that, when the great Bill Shankly after 74, there appeared to be a void then. Me as a supporter, as a young apprentice, were wondering what was going to happen next. But as I say, Liverpool had this ability to recruit from within, and regenerate and bring other people in. And they've done that, they've done that forever and a day. And as I say to you, Kevin went and gained the recruitment people, Tom Saunders, Bob Paisley, Joe Fagan, Ronnie Moran. They've seen the ability in this guy, Kenny, and they brought him in. And once again, proved to be one of the best players Liverpool ever had.
And then obviously when Kenny comes in and that squad's assembled and it was already an incredible squad, and like you said, we've just added into an amazing squad, one of the best players, if not the best player in the club's history. And you yourself in that sort of team, you went on to win 4 league titles, 2 European Cups within the space of 6 years. So what was the secret to the success with that squad? And like you said, Bob Paisley, who is one of the most decorated managers in British history, if not the most, in terms, especially from that time frame.
Well, again, you broke up a bit there, man. To be honest, I don't know whether it's your Wi-Fi or mine. But what I say to you, I was very fortunate to play with some of the best players in Europe, if not the world. And we had a fantastic camaraderie. We had a fantastic togetherness, and that was all encouraged and generated by the people behind in the boot room. They knew the people together. They knew the components. I certainly wasn't the best player in Europe, but I was playing with the best players in Europe, and if not the world. Each and every one of us, each and every individual had their own part to play, you know. And again, as I said to you before, it was a very, very simple method what they used, what the coaching staff used, but every single person, as I alluded to before, knew and understood their role and responsibility within the team. And believe you me, Ben, back in the day, it was totally different today. There was a drinking culture, you know, and we were the best at it. So we were the best on the pitch and we were the best off the pitch. We were.
No, absolutely. And yeah, the whole culture obviously has changed, and you know, the football is different now, and I don't think people are allowed to go out and drink. They probably still do in some instances, but it's interesting to hear that. And I'm going to put you on the spot here, Sammy. And when we talk about these trophies and these seasons, and from the time when you was a young lad up until the time when you left Liverpool, what was for you the standout season, and what was for you the standout trophy that you won with the club during your time there? If you had to pick one that was the absolute best, the pinnacle of your time at Liverpool.
Well, as you say, you put me on the spot there, Ben. I've got to be honest with you. And I was very, very fortunate, as I say, to win all them trophies. What you didn't mention was the 4 consecutive League Cups, which started in 1981, which is crucial to Liverpool Football Club, because back in the day, that was played in March. And when you won that cup, as we did 4 consecutive seasons, that gained you access to Europe. So by March, we'd already gained access to Europe by mere fact that we'd won the League Cup. But if I was to give you any standout game or any standout cup, I can only give you one game, which for me stands out above all, and that was my debut, Ben, because at Liverpool Football Club, if you get your debut, you need to do well. And if you do well in your debut, you've got a chance. But if you don't do well in your debut, you've got no chance. And I was very fortunate. I came on my debut there was only one sub at the time, excuse me. And I went there, we were playing against Leicester City. I was on the bench, only me on the bench, as I say, one sub. Not for 1 minute thinking I was getting on the pitch, because back in the day, Ben, Liverpool players never got injured because you were always afraid to get injured, because if you got injured, you lost your place. And it was always difficult to get back in. And fortunately for me, but unfortunately for the guy, Davy Johnson, the Doc as we call him, who sadly has since passed away, he got injured, which allowed me to come onto the game. I came into the game against Leicester City, and I actually scored on my debut in front of the Kop. Now, you mentioned the internet before, Google, Wikipedia, whatever. If you go on to Google or Wikipedia and put Sammy Lee together, you don't see goals and Sammy Lee together. So for me to get into my debut, to score on my debut in front of the Kop was an absolute dream come true. Something that I did dream about, but I never ever thought it'd become a reality. So that was the standout game for me.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. And I don't think anybody can argue with that one. Every single Liverpool fan that, you know, once had the dream of playing for the club, that's exactly how they would have dreamt it, scoring at the Kop End. Obviously, remember in recent time, Virgil van Dijk obviously did the same. That would be the sort of modern day version of that. And you know, that was sensational.
Did you the thing, Ben? Sorry to cut across you. You get Robbie Firmino, who scores his last goal in front of the Kop, you know, in his last game. You know, so once again, people in that Kop, they have this ability to suck you in. They have the ability to suck goals in out of you. And as I said to you, I'm sure for Bobby and for Virgil, certainly as it was for myself, an absolute dream fulfilled to score in front of that set of people who are unique throughout the sporting world. They're the best.
So I just want to speak to you about the 1981 European Cup final, Sammy, because I saw that Kenny was returning to the lineup for the first time after an ankle injury. Phil Thompson, Alan Kennedy, and yourself were all supposedly doubts for the game. And then even at half-time, I read that Graham Souness was receiving treatment for an injury that he'd picked up in the game. So with everything going against Liverpool sort of leading up into the game, if, you know, like I said, I read all this online, so maybe you could shed some light on the situation. How did Liverpool manage to overcome it with a lot of injuries going into it?
Well, as I said to you before, I alluded to it before, Ben, you didn't want to get injured when you played for Liverpool back in them days, you know, and a lot of us played with injuries. A lot of us played with niggles. You were never 100% pain free, never, you know, and that's because, don't forget, back in the day, we played an awful lot of games. I just tend to think that basically, you know, we all had niggles. It was just part of our build-up. It was part of our mentality that you played through them injuries, because as I alluded to before, you never ever wanted to lose your place in the team, because once you lose your place in that team, it's very, very difficult to get back in. Even players like Kenny, even players like Graham, certainly players like myself didn't want to lose the place, because you always had people behind wanting to come in and take your place, And again, that was the strength of Liverpool, is that there was always competition behind, always people ready to come in, step in, and any given game, any given day, next man up, as they say. So, yeah, we all had niggles, but it was never ever going to prevent us from playing in that game. Never.
And it's interesting, isn't it? Because, even up until the modern day now, when Liverpool don't have players available, and I always go back to the Barcelona game where it was Origi, Shaqiri, and Mane leading the line. And, we needed to win 4-0 to progress to the final. And we did just that. So, yeah, it's always interesting that sort of mentality and culture at the club was installed decades and decades and decades ago.
Yeah, because as I say, Ben, Liverpool always find a way. They always find a way. Go back to Istanbul when you're 3-0 down, And again, excuse me, one thing which I must say and I must stress is that the fans have a massive part to play in that as well. They really do. And I'm not trying to court, applause. I'm really not trying. I've been a fan myself. I am a fan now, And honestly, let me just stress how important this group of supporters are, more than any other group of supporters in football. For me, they are the best. And I have to say to you, they, more than any other group of supporters, have a massive part to play. They are the 12th man for us. And every player who's played for Liverpool Football Club over the decades, up until and including this present day, they know how important this set of supporters are. None more so than the manager in charge now. Because I think Jurgen is the man. I think he is the closest I've ever known to the great Bill Shankly.
Wow.
In terms of knowledge, in terms of getting the city, in terms of getting the club, in terms of getting the aspirations of the club, and in terms of getting new people, i.e. the supporters. He's the closest for me, and I've been with some very, very good managers. But this guy, in terms of charisma, in terms of knowledge, in terms of understanding what is needed at this football club and what is needed for you, the supporters, he's the closest to Bill Shankly, who started this all off.
Well, that's quite the comparison to be put in, those sort of conversations, to be as close to him. I mean, he is the best I've ever seen. Obviously, I'm 26, so for me, I've not exactly been blessed with. Obviously, we had Rafa and all of those things.
Yeah.
You think
that's what I say, Ben. Ben, sorry,
yeah.
That's what I say. I've been with some very good managers, and when I say this guy is the closest, I'm not trying to undermine any of the other managers. Far from it. Excuse me. It's just that this guy, for sure, in the full picture, is the closest I've seen to the great Bill Shankly. He really is. Well, again, it was like the second coming for me. It was a fantastic dream come true, because I was disappointed to have to leave the club initially, because as I say to you, it was my dream to play for the club. And you can't replicate being a player, Ben. You can't. But I was very fortunate, because I've been able to be there as a coach. And when I had to leave initially, it was a difficult time for me. But to be given the opportunity by Rafa to come back once again was another dream fulfilled. And again, as I mentioned before, what a terrific manager! What a terrific guy! Once again, his knowledge was fantastic. His football knowledge was terrific, and it was a joy to work with him, under him, and with some great players. So it was a second coming of my dreams, to be honest with you.
Absolutely, and we've spoken about Sir Kenny Dalglish and what he was like, to play with and to be around. But what about Stevie? And I have had the absolute pleasure of meeting this man. I was on my way to holiday, Barcelona, and I bumped into him at John Lennon Airport. And he was with his family, and he seemed to be in a rush. So I thought, shall I ask him the question? Shall I ask him for a photo? And I thought, you know what? I'm never going to get this chance again. So I said, you know what? I'm going to do it. And I asked him. He was as polite as anything. He took the time out of his busy day to get a photo with me, and it was the absolute best moment, probably one of the best of my life. Seeing this guy, almost since I was a baby, play for Liverpool. So yeah, what was he like, Steven Gerrard, as a player, as a person? What was he like to coach and sort of be around, mate?
Well, it's amazing, Ben, right? Okay. Now, I need you to listen to this carefully, right? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I always get asked the question, who is the best player you've ever coached, right? Now, automatically, people think that I'm going to say Stevie, right?
Mm-hmm.
He was the worst. Now, listen to me. The reason he was the worst is because he was the best. He was the most naturally gifted talent you could ever work with. He didn't really need coaching. He didn't need coaching. He just needed guidelines. So a lot of people would hang their hats on saying that they coached Stevie Gerrard. I would never dare say that, because Stevie was one of the most naturally gifted players I've ever had the good fortune to work with. He was terrific. Off the pitch, magnificent. Great family guy. Great club man. Wanted nothing but the best for the club. Nothing but the best. A local lad who wanted he knew how important it was to the whole city. And he was a fantastic, fantastic person to be around. So I repeat, I want you to listen when I say he was the worst, only because he was the best. The most naturally gifted. Him, Cara, the two guys who were basically, they wore their heart on the sleeves. They, did everything. You could sense the hurt when it never went right. You could sense the joy when it did go right. So for me, them two guys are tops. And you don't surprise me when you turn around and say to me that you met him in the airport and he was a gentleman, because Stevie and Cara, they've got time for everybody. They have got time for everybody. And two terrific footballers. For me as a young coach to work with, terrific. And again, I hope you understand when I say he was the worst, because I repeat, I emphasize it was because he was the best. It was because they were the best at what they did, and they didn't really need coaching. All they needed was guidelines. That's all.
Yeah, and there we are. Look, there we are together.
Very good, mate.
It was just, I couldn't believe it. I've never been shell shocked to meet somebody in real life, and I was just there like, oh my word, like this is Stevie. I had to ask him that, but it was an absolute gent with me. I just want to move on from Rafa very briefly. I know we could speak about these managers with you all day, but for time's sake, we need to keep it moving. Well, obviously after Rafa came Roy Hodgson. Now, obviously this isn't a time that Liverpool fans and particularly like to talk about, Sammy, and it was obviously a bit of a mess, like on the pitch, off the pitch. What was it like being in that environment during that period? Because obviously fans like myself would probably pin this down as one of the toughest sort of periods of Liverpool in our lifetime. So yeah, for that sort of 7-month period, what was sort of going on like behind the scenes?
Well, let me just say to you first and foremost, Ben.
Perfect, yeah.
As a coach, I don't know what was going on behind the scenes. I don't know everything. That was the joy of my position, is that I didn't have to know everything what was going on behind the scenes, because my focus was totally on what was going on the pitch. Obviously, the man, he's fully aware of what's going on behind the scenes, but I wasn't. That's the joy of being an assistant. But what I'll say to you, what I'll stress to you, all through this conversation, we spoke about stability on and off the pitch. And as you so rightly said, at that period, it was a period of massive instability at the football club, massive. And I felt, sorry is the wrong word, but I feel for Roy, because Roy Hodgson's a very good manager. He's proven that since and beforehand. But it was a difficult time for Liverpool Football Club, both on and off the pitch. As I say, there was a lot of instability. And when you have instability off the pitch, i.e. above room level, because there's talk of takeovers and different people coming in and what have you, it's always going to be difficult. And again, I've got nothing but sympathy for Roy. And he won't want me saying this, sympathy, because Roy's his own man. As I say, he's a terrific coach. It didn't work well for any of us at the time. Obviously, the man just carries the can, because the buck stops there. But I'd have to say to you mentioned it before, there was a massive, massive set of problems going on off the pitch at Liverpool Football Club. They were in a period of transition. There's disarray at times. Again, I repeat, problems with the owners, who was, takeovers and what have you. So it was a very difficult time for Roy Hodgson. And I think it's difficult for us to judge him on his period at Liverpool, because I repeat, it was a very unstable time at Liverpool Football Club. And thankfully they've got beyond that now. The stability is there. We mentioned about recruitment before, which is key. So I think both on and off the pitch, they've got it right now. But I think hindsight's a great thing. Ben. Hindsight's a fantastic thing, and if I could bottle hindsight up and sell it, I'd be a trillionaire. You know what I mean? So again, all I'd have to say to you, I mean, obviously when there's a change over the managers, people are always worried. They always question what's going to happen. You know, as I mentioned, we start off the conversation about when I joined and Bill Shankly left. You know, so we've really gone full circle now to turn around and say that. Well, obviously, you know, what was going to happen? Who's going to fill the void? How was the void going to be filled? Well, history will tell. History will tell. Since this guy's been in, you know, we've regained our mojo. You know, we've won Champions League, we've won the Premier League with this guy. So I just tend to think that, you know, the statistics will speak for themselves. You know, the honours board will speak for itself. Is that this guy's come in, and you're right. You know, I'm overflowing with praise for Jurgen for the simple reason is as a supporter, I've loved what he's done, and I love what he's doing, and I love what he will continue to do, and long may that continue. So, as I said to you before, sometimes when new managers come in, you don't know. Doesn't matter who it is, you really don't know. You know, throughout this discussion, we mentioned the fact that I've been with a number of managers, you know, and it's always been difficult. There's always been difficulties in whichever reign there is, but Liverpool have this ability to overcome them difficulties and to succeed. This guy came in, Jurgen came in. Again, there was obviously, you know, scepticism. There was obviously doubt. How are we going to do? New manager, new era. But look what's happened since he's been in. And again, I'll repeat what I said before, and I make no apologies for this. Okay? This guy is the closest to the man who started it all off, Sir Bill Shankly. This guy we have now is the closest.
Wow. And like I say, that is some comparison, and you know, it's only compliment to Jurgen and what he's done at the club. And
I was so pleased for Liverpool, and not only Liverpool, but the supporters as well, because you know I know how desperate they all are for it. Family and friends were desperate for it, so I was very, very pleased for them. And again, it's like everything else I was saying before. You know, they got back up where they belong. Liverpool Football Club got back up to where they belong, challenging for titles, winning cups. You know, traveling throughout Europe, and I think this is what this football club is all about. So again, it just cemented my opinion of the man in charge now. For him to get them ready after such a long period where he hadn't won the title, for him to come in, for him to get the title, you just tend to think for me that is confirmation of what this guy has done to this football club. Let's be perfectly honest with you, Ben, wasn't good. You know, for any of us, you know, certainly wasn't good for us as supporters. I know it wasn't good for the players. I know it wasn't good for Jurgen and his backroom staff because, you know, they've got very, very, very high standards. And, you know, and they're very honest. They said it wasn't good last year, but they've recruited. Time will tell whether they've recruited well. I like the number of people who come in. You know, if we can keep them fit, then I'm sure that I don't want to just mention individuals. You know, there's been a number of signings. And again, I repeat, I'm sure that the philosophy that they have in recruiting the players, to bring in the best players, to bring Liverpool forward, to get them where they always want to be. And I'm sure that it may not be immediate, but I've been to every game so far, and I'm liking what I see. I think some of them will take a bit more time to settle in, but I think the recruitment has been fantastic. You know, and I think they've got a couple of early doors who have proven to be already look like very good Liverpool players. You know, so I'm confident. As always at Liverpool, we were told never ever to look too far ahead. Always look for the next game. You know, and we've got a very difficult game coming up against West Ham on Sunday, which is, you know, David Moyes, fantastic coach. He's got them well organised. It's going to be a difficult game, as was the Wolves game, the previous league game. You know, so I think it's one of them where I think it is going to be difficult because this league is difficult. It's the most difficult, the most competitive league in the whole of world football. But I think the people that he's brought in, I think they will prove to be fantastic additions to our football team. And in doing so, I think they'll bring us success in terms of trophies and in terms of position in the table. I think we want to improve. Obviously, we want to improve on last season's position in the table. We need to. We will do. And I've got full confidence that Jurgen and his backroom staff will get the best out of these players, old and new, to get the best results for you and us as supporters, because that's what we all want. That's what we all demand. is for Liverpool Football Club to be as high and to be as good and be the best he can be.
No, absolutely. I couldn't agree more. I think the players that have come in and the players that we already had, they didn't become bad players overnight. I think it was just a lot of factors that went into last season not being as good as we would have wanted. And I think just the way that they've dusted themselves down and gone again at the start of this season.
Can I just say? Can I just say something, Ben? Sorry, the previous season, if you remember, the season before that, we missed out on the title by 1 point, was it? So my point being is that when we did that, we played every game. Liverpool played every game in every competition possible. They went to the nth degree in every competition, penalties at times. They played every minute and more possible in the previous campaign. So there was always, last season, there was always going to be a little bit of a fallout. There's always going to be a little fall off. There's always going to be a bit of a reaction. Having said that, I didn't think it'd be as drastic as what it was. I'll be perfectly frank with you. That's gone now. That season's gone. We brush ourselves down. We think of this new season now. We think of the challenges ahead. We're 1-0 down in Austria and we win 3-1. This is on Thursday night. So in the very immediate game that we've just had, they've accepted challenges, they've faced the challenges, and they've overcome the challenges. Our next one's, as I say, is going to be against West Ham. So I'm liking what I'm seeing. I'm liking that the fact that the lads are recovering from, going a goal down, if you like. I think as supporters, we wouldn't like that in every game, which it appears to be happening now, But having said that, I'm sure, again, it shows you the tenacity of the team. It shows you, the way the team can overcome adversities. It shows to me that they've got a togetherness. And again, if we can stop conceding early, which would be great, then we'll win many more games than what we lose. So I'm fairly confident that this team, this squad, under the tuition, under the guidance, under the leadership of Jurgen, will go on to do great things this season for sure. They've shown a resilience which, hitherto we may not have had. Another team certainly have not. And again, I think it bodes well for Liverpool moving forward.
Absolutely, and I think that's a great place to wrap up. Sammy, thank you very much for jumping on the channel today. Really appreciate you giving your time. I know how busy you are, so everybody at the Anfield Talk sends their thank you to you, mate. And I really appreciate you, mate.
No, it's an absolute pleasure, Ben. I hope we got over the technical difficulties, because technology is not me, but I'm sure, it's been an absolute pleasure to talk to you, to be involved with you, and I just want to say, wish everybody in the Talk Anfield just all the very, very best, and keep supporting the guys. Keep supporting the guys through thick and thin, because, again, I repeat what I said before. You guys, and again, I'm not trying to cause applause. I'm not trying to do that. You guys mean so much to the football team. You mean so much to the football club, to the players, to the staff. They know how important your interaction is, your support is. Through bad times, I say, when you're 3-0 down, when you're 4-0 down, you guys can certainly help pull these guys up to get the success that we all crave, we all want, and we all deserve. So keep supporting, keep in there. And as we always say in our anthem, you never walk alone, chaps. You never.
Absolutely. Thanks a lot for those kind words, Sammy. And guys, if you're new around here, please make sure you smash the like, subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you guys in the next video. Take care and goodbye for now.